Nick speaking, and welcome to this hobby hangout where I'm going to be painting some Annihilation Barges live, and we're going to be chatting, well, mainly about 10th edition, but maybe some other stuff too. So yeah, welcome everyone. I hope you are all doing fine and dandy on this rather hot evening. It's very sunny outside, and yeah, I've got the two massive windows behind me with the sun blaring in. I've got the door open, but hopefully it won't get too hot. Luckily, all of my lighting is LED and not tungsten, so it doesn't get too hot, which is good. Right, I'm just going to change my view on the computer. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Hello Jar, how are you doing? Well, I hope. Let me know if you can hear me okay. This is a similar setup to what I had on my last sort of hobby hangout. To be fair, it's been a long time since I've painted live on camera. Usually I've just been building stuff, but with this new setup I thought I could probably paint quite well as well. So that is what I'm going to do. So you may remember from my Necrons and More live stream last week. Samoth says loud and clear. Thank you for confirming. Appreciate that. Yeah, in that last stream I said that I was going to be painting my Annihilation Barges, and that was exactly 1 week ago, and I haven't touched them because it's just been way too busy. I think it's just the time of year. June is like the worst month for me in terms of birthdays and events. The 1st of June is the anniversary of when I had my first date with my fiance, so we celebrated that. It's my fiance's birthday on the 16th. It's her mum's birthday today. It's my daughter's birthday on the 29th. It's just like one of those horrible months in terms of lots of events, but also fun times. So that's good. Right, so let me show you what I've got here in this box. I've got my two Annihilation Barges, which obviously I already have. Now these are magnetised into command barges as well. And I've got two more to add to my collection, which of course I am going to be painting today. Not sure how far I'm going to get. The first thing to do is dry brush everything with Ironbreaker. So usually I do them in stages, so my aim would be at least to get that done in this painting session, potentially the second dry brush as well, which is a lead voucher, but we'll just see how it goes. Obviously when you're talking sometimes you don't paint quite as much. We have CM Wargames. Hello Richard. Jan is mine. January, yeah, I think we all have one of those sort of horrible months, don't we? So you're probably asking yourself, how come I'm live streaming when I'm not supposed to be live streaming? Well, the reason is that my fiance has gone to Cannes today to celebrate her mum's birthday. So they've gone like a girly weekend. So she's gone for the weekend. So I thought it's an ideal opportunity to get some hobby done. Maybe have a chat with you guys, because obviously we've had some 10th edition stuff, not necessarily Necrons, but I thought it would be good to maybe get some views out there, or just a chat basically about it. That's a pretty expensive month. It is indeed. It's a horrible month. Yeah, it's horrible. It's a horrible month in terms of expenditure. Right. Now let me make sure I get the right paint, because I have on one occasion done the wrong colour and had to respray them back black and start again. So it's Ironbreaker is the base coat. A bit of shaking. So obviously the major events in terms of Necrons is going to be the release of the free downloads of the index cards for the army, which I believe is happening on the 14th or 15th. Can't remember what the date is, but it's the Thursday. I think it's this time next week basically. Now I have a slight issue in that. Let me get painting, because otherwise I'm never going to paint. So let me get painting. Right, we've got some tissue, we've got some cloth, and we need a paint brush. I'm going to use this one, which I used for my ghost arcs, quite a big thick one. We have a Drek in the house. Sadly I do not know what that says, and I can't get to the Google Translator at the moment. Right, let's start off with the main chassis, shall we? On a side note, I actually glued these pieces in, these little jet engines. On my original ones I didn't glue them. I thought it'd be cool to have them moving, but they gradually worked loose and fell out, so I've glued them in on the old ones and I've glued them in on the new ones because there's no real need to have them moving. I just thought it was cool at the time. So yeah, what's my issue? Well, as I said, my fiance's away at the moment, and she's going to be coming back home probably Wednesday next week. And when she comes back home, she is going to be coming back home with some other members of the family who are obviously coming down to celebrate her birthday, because it's her birthday weekend. I've booked the Saturday off and I have the Friday off as well, having a bit of a birthday bash. However, I'm going to have the whole of the family basically staying in the apartment, so I'm going to have no chance to record any videos. And this is all happening on the release day of the data cards. Oh, party at Nick's place. It would be very nice to have everyone here. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to do videos very quickly. Have you noticed how like everyone is doing Leviathan like box set videos? Is it me, or is it like so many content creators have that box to make videos on? I think more than the previous one with the Necrons in. Obviously I never expected to get an email from Games Workshop saying, do you want a box? I mean, I didn't get that email when it was Necrons involved, so I was never going to get one without Necrons in there. But yes, I mean, I don't begrudge anyone having the set and, you know, doing what they're doing. But have you noticed some of them are actually fairly small channels, fairly small amounts of views? So I mean, I don't know the stipulations that GW have for giving out this content, but yeah, some of it seems a bit odd. But anyway, so many videos on this box set. Richard and I are thinking about doing our own unboxing for it, but I don't know if people would really want to watch it because everyone would have seen it already. I'm curious about the data sheets. I'm currently building my third Doomstalker. I want to play 3 Doomstalkers, 3 Doomsday Arcs at the beginning of 10th until Biggest Dickers hears about it and complains. Yeah, I think Doomstalkers could be quite good. Yeah, so yeah, Richard and I are thinking about doing an unboxing video, but I don't know how well that's going to go down, to be fair. And no doubt as soon as these data cards are released, every man and his dog's going to be uploading a video on them, and I won't be able to because I'm not going to have a chance to record a video. But that's the way it is. I will record a video as soon as I get the chance, but unlike some channels who put up a video like after 2 hours of release, mine might be a few days after. But there you go, hopefully my videos will be worth the wait. To be honest, I'm not sure I'm getting the box. No, fair play. I mean, if I didn't have a Tyranid army, if let's just say it was Tau in there, for example, an army which I don't have, and I don't have Space Marines, I probably wouldn't be getting the box either. You know, those Tyranid models do look really cool. I went to my local GW because they posted on their Facebook page but they had built them. So I went down and had a look at the models. I had two comments on them. The first one was, wow, that Screamer Killer Khan effect looks absolutely awesome. Definitely the best mini out of the group of minis after seeing them in the flesh. And the second one is, I can't remember the proper name, but the Mr. Brain, the one with the big brain, that miniature a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be much bigger than it actually is. But, you know, that's that. I suppose we all have different expectations, don't we? But I didn't think I'd like the Screamer Killer as much as I do. But when I saw it in the flesh, I thought, yeah, that is one cool mini. I think I might have to move to a smaller paintbrush. That is my mobile going, if you're wondering what that funny sound was. I've got these notifications set up so that depending on the sound I know who that was messaging me. I could tell you from that sound. That's my fiance at the airport probably. I better check it in case it's urgent. She just says she's just landed. She has no idea I'm going live. I know it's hot, but I have coffee. I do have a cold drink as well, but I haven't drunk much coffee today. The Neuro Tyrant, yeah, that's the one. All the models do look cool. Nids have never been an army I like the aesthetic of. So obviously we had the 10th edition core rules, free download, and of course I have downloaded them. Just about found enough time to watch them, not watch them, read them. So we will have a chat about those in a minute. I'm starting to think I definitely need a smaller brush. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the other big hull with the bigger brush first, then I'm going to go back in with a smaller brush. Never a bad time for a coffee, totally agree. Have you noticed when you're dry brushing that you use a lot more paint than you actually think? I thought I had loads of paint on there and I've barely done that. I don't try to put too much paint on the palettes in one go because obviously I don't want it to waste, and although I've got this wet palette, I don't want it to dry out either, especially sort of this weather. So pre-orders on Saturday. I am working, however Richard is going to get them for me basically, so I'm going to meet him in the GWQ before work and hand over my money, and then Richard's going to run away with it. No, he's not. He's going to buy us a box set each, and obviously we're going to be splitting it, so I'm going to have the two Tyranid halves, which I'm looking forward to, and Richard is going to have the two Space Marine halves. I think some of those models will go into his Space Wolves army, but some of them will be going into his new Space Marine army. So I've got a new opponent, well, a new army to play against. Richard will still be there, but he will be commanding a new army, so that'll be fun. So what I did with the core rules is obviously I read them, and what I did is I made some notes, just some personal notes of the changes that I spotted, or just not even a change, but just something I wanted to like note to try to remember, and I made a list of them in a document just so that I can maybe look at them in the future. Just a sort of reminder. So I'm going to go through that list that I made today just to see if it sort of generates any discussion. So I have to be honest, I haven't read this list. I've got it pinned to the board, but I haven't actually read it. I typed it out as I was reading, printed it, and then just sort of left it. Just been so busy with work. Today I started my first day of a 6-day week. I'm at work. Normally I'd have tomorrow off, but I've got to work it. So let's have a look at this list. So unit sizes in terms of sort of unit coherency now, where you had to stay within a range of 2 other models. It used to be 6 miniatures or more, and now it's 7 miniatures, which I'm assuming they've made that change because of leaders. Hello Dave, how you doing? Nick, I have a question. Are the previous old versions of the monoliths worth far less if you sell them new, unopened, than the new ones? You got any prices in your head? I think they will go less than the new one for sure. It's so hard, isn't it? And I've seen some real like beaten up, half broken, battered ones on eBay and still go for quite a lot of money, because obviously the new monolith is very expensive to buy, so it's still cheaper to buy like a second-hand one. And I've got a little trick for you. I don't know if you know about this or not, but when you go to eBay, you can go to advanced settings and you can search for items that have been sold effectively. So you can go in and find out exactly what things have been selling for, either buy it nows or bids. Because sometimes, you know, you look at a listing, it might have a high price, but it doesn't mean they've been selling at that price. But if you can go into that advanced setting, you can actually see how much they're actually physically selling for, and that's always a good way to find out prices. But yeah, you just go to advanced settings. I'm not happy how this paint's going on with this brush, to be honest with you. I'm going to switch quite swiftly in a minute. At least I've got like a good base down for it, I suppose. Right, let's finish this, change brush, and then we will talk about my next little point which I noticed. Obviously we did get the keywords for the units published on the Games Workshop website, as they basically were just updating the website. Again, I didn't really have time to make a video, and every man and his dog already made a video on it anyway, so I didn't bother. Plus there are some errors, or it seems like there's some errors on that. So the Tesseract Bolt being listed as infantry, that doesn't seem right, does it? Right, let's just clean this brush out. Okay, so definitely need a smaller brush, not too small, but smaller. That brush could paint by Granddad's wooden shed into the garden. Yeah, the Ghost Ark was considerably bigger, I think. I think that's why I had having an issue. So now this looks better. It's a bit softer too. Okay, so we're going to go back in. This isn't the second coat, this is still the first coat. hopefully I'll get a better finish with this. Right. Okay. Sometimes as well, I've noticed when you first start to dry brush, where the brush is actually quite dry, it doesn't sort of go on that well, but the more paint you sort of gradually get into the brush, even though you're taking it off, the better it is. I've run out of paint already. Again. There's me thinking, oh yeah, this would be a little easy job, just dry brush it on camera, won't be no trouble. It is so hot tonight, I am sweltering. Of course, the first coat is going to be quite odd looking anyway, because I'm going to do another one, and the second coat is where the sort of effects really sort of starts to take shape. We've already seen from the tuners data sheets that they had battle line incorrect on termagants. Yeah, there's definitely some errors on there for sure. Some interesting stuff, obviously flayed ones, infiltrate. I mean, I'm assuming that's a thing. We've had infiltrate before on flayed ones, so yeah. And of course scout on tomb blades, another interesting one. And then deep strike, Praetorians. And, you know, if it's all correct, then yeah, so could be some good stuff in there. Alright, let's have a look at my list. So yeah, again, these are just notes. But I made a note about line of sight. Quite interesting how they've clarified visible and fully visible. So obviously visible means that you can see, but it's covered by terrain or something, and then fully visible means basically you're in the open. And I like how they're clarifying a lot of this stuff, trying to make it as clear and concise as possible. So yeah, I think it's some of the wording is very good. Right, I think I'm nearly there now with the first coat of this one. This brush is definitely a bit better. I will go over at the end with a very small brush just to get into any of those little nooks and crannies, like just in there. But on the whole, I'm happy with that one. So that's that. Let's go back over this one. Our mini dealer gets some Leviathan boxes. I either get one or I don't. If I don't get one, it's not the end of the world for me. Yeah, no, fair play. I always have trouble dry brushing, just never get the results I like. Definitely a skill issue though. It's weird because even though dry brushing is simple, it's definitely, like you say, a sort of just building up that skill. I mean, my first dry brushing was atrocious, really, really bad. But that's because I didn't know anything different. I dried brushed my monolith, which is the only model I've ever repainted, is my monolith. The first monolith that I had, I dry brushed with a tiny little dry brush, and I remember like almost pushing quite hard just to make sure that I was like getting the paint on there. And it looked terrible, and then when I got my second monolith I thought I'm going to repaint it, so that's what I did. It's the only miniature I've ever repainted, just because I didn't want it to look so different from the sort of next one that I was going to paint. I have magnetised both of these, which arguably you could say, well, you didn't need to, because obviously I've got 2 command barges already, and then now I've got another 2, so that would give me 4 command barges stroke 4 annihilation barges. And of course you can't have that rules wise. However, rules change. So one reason was that I thought, well, you know, if they do ever change it, you know, GW, they change, it goes willy-nilly. I mean, Annihilation Barges might go into units of 3, and like land speeders are, you know, you just don't know, do you, the rules? So future-proofing them. But there was actually another reason as well, and that's because where I store these particular miniatures, I store them in a 9-litre box. I've got 2 Ghost Arks in there and 2 Annihilations barges in there in each box. So I've got currently 4 Ghost Arks and 4 Annihilation Barges. And what I didn't want to do is have one of the boxes where one of the miniatures was not magnetised. It was like a fixed Annihilation Barge. Because I thought, well, what happens if I only need one box and I've accidentally picked the box up that with the miniature that's not magnetised, I end up not having the right model. So I thought I'll just magnetise it. I mean, it's hardly any issue, so yeah, it's not difficult to do. So I just magnetised it, and now they're all magnetised. So yeah, that's what I did. So you guys painting tonight, or are you just listening? Or at your work? You might be at work. Predator built, just paint. I'm keeping options open. Good stuff. Yes. So some of you may know from many years ago, I did a Help for Heroes charity army, which we took to Salute, and we basically raised money for Help the Heroes. We did it twice. We did an Ultramarines army where we raised about £8,000. I say we, a massive group of YouTubers doing it all together. And the second one we did a Blood Angels army. I think it was the other way round actually. The first army was Blood Angels, the second one was Ultramarines. And the Ultramarine army we raised not quite as much. I think we got to about 4,000 for that one. But in that process, where we were basically, everyone was sort of donating miniatures and painting miniatures for free for the raffle, I ended up with a few boxes of Space Marine tanks, which I was saving for my Space Wolves army, but I decided I'm probably never going to get them done. And as Richard is doing a new Space Marine army, I thought he might like them. So I gave him a Predator, a Vindicator, and a Dreadnought. I split some Carenberg Crimson Shade. Oh, I spilt on my dressing gown today. I ran to the washing machine like Langford Christie. Oh man, the worst one I've done is spilling Tesseract Volt on this carpet shortly after I moved in, and this is like a beigey coloured carpet. You know, I did get it out, but it took 3 bottles of stain remover to get it out. Okay, so that's done with the big brush. I was just waiting to go in with a small one, which I am going to switch over now. I think, let's have a look at these other bits. I've got the guns, but it's only the back bit. Oh yeah, I might do the back bit with this brush. Okay. Richard, you defected Space Marines. He's going to be working on his orcs as well. He's got some a very nice new project for his orcs. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what he's got, but it's big and nasty. Let's put it that way. So on these guns, I've got my obviously original painted ones just for reference. So I'm only really painting the front half of these. It just looks so messy, doesn't it, dry brushing? But that's how we want it, like mottled just to make it look like worn metal, and the second coat is what's going to really finish the look off. I thought I would do this live as well rather than doing a painting tutorial, because it's basically exactly the same as my other vehicle painting tutorials which I've done. So I thought, yeah, just paint it in a live, and at least if somebody does want to see me paint them, then it's there. There's one. Stomper incoming. Yes, Richard has a stomper. No, but I wanted to give options for back reps, and as the Leviathan box set is Space Marines, I felt it did. I did need something different. All orcs are big and nasty. Yeah, Stomper, that'd be fun. Oh, so thirsty. The sun is almost gone now, so it should cool down a bit. As you can see from my border, which I made for this live stream, of course I'm doing the charity raffle. If you haven't checked the video out, then it is linked in the description below, or maybe just the raffle page, I'm not sure, but the raffle page has got a video on it anyway. But yeah, it's going quite well so far. Let's have a quick look. So far I've sold 47 tickets, so I've raised £235, which is not bad considering I only went up on Monday with that, so that's good. So hopefully, I think when I sort of organised the raffle, I was hoping, sort of aiming to sell 100 tickets, which would be £500. So I'm sort of halfway there already, so that's really good. And the raffle is on for a month. So yeah, hopefully I will get to that figure, if not better. I hope I have some more Ironbreaker, because there's not actually that much in there. I'm going through it like anything. I don't know if it's just drying out. I put a load of water in this thing, so it shouldn't dry out. Oh, it's starting to cool down now, I can feel it. Right, there you go. So now notice that the brush, where it's got sort of almost wetter as such, it's starting to go on a bit nicer, the paint. I've got some blending to do on this, because I blended these wires, because I built and painted these at a stage where I was into blending the Necron green stuff, because I was trying to improve my painting. So yeah, I've got to blend them. Shouldn't be too bad. That's a 3-colour blend on that one, rather than a 2-colour, which I did on my Ghost Ark. Right, I'm definitely going to have to go in with a smaller brush. What we're getting there, let's have a look at these other bits. Yeah, everything's small brush now, so let's change this brush. Lots of throwaway units will be handy. Scarabs will be big for Necrons. Yeah, quite possibly. Depends how many points they are, doesn't it? Right, small brush. I'm gradually downsizing. Let's see, that one. I think go for this one. Okay, let's put that back. Got quite a few little bits here where obviously it is all interchangeable. Let's start with this piece. I already missed the Orc t-shirt armour saves. Right, so look at the next one. So yeah, movement. This is what I've written down for my notes. So now you can move over friendlies, but not monsters or vehicles. Not monsters or vehicles, over monsters or vehicles. Yeah, so you can basically move over friendlies, but the monsters and vehicles are still sort of blocking each other as such, which I think thematically probably does make sense. Also, I'm not even sure if this was already in 9th edition or not. We never really used it, if it was. But when you move, you obviously allocate to each unit whether it's remained stationary, advanced, or moved. Effectively, I think that might have been there before, but I think where there's extra rules now for remaining stationary, probably something that maybe you just might be wise to actually say when you're sort of going through your movement. Just declare, you know, remain stationary. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you don't move it, but yeah, I think it might be worth like calling it out just to clarify things, like, because obviously when you remain stationary, you're going to get +1 to hit. So, big guns never tire, so that'd be interesting. Why are you painting, Nick? Don't you have some scarabs to do it for you? I wish I did. I wish I did. To be fair, I'm probably too fussy. I like things done my way. So I probably wouldn't be satisfied with somebody else painting it. Not that I'm the greatest painter in the world or anything. It's just that I love things to all match and be the same. Alright. That's that piece. Just make sure I've gone through all the sides. Sometimes you can just totally miss an area. We just didn't declare it. Yeah, I had a feeling it was there. That's why I made a note of it, because it's like, oh, I just don't remember us doing that, but I'm sure it was there before. It looks like we'll have to use scarabs significantly different in 10th. It does look that way, doesn't it? Yeah, Tyranid Rippers were OC0, which I would imagine scarabs will be as well. And obviously swarms, I think, are just not a thing anymore by the looks of it. I mean, swarms in 9th edition really didn't have any sort of impact apart from, I think, terrain. There's no real benefit to a swarm. In the old days, swarms used to have extra rules if you were a swarm, but it's been a while since that. Alright, I'm going to try and paint the same piece on each one as I go. So next I've got fly. Measure distance through the air if starting or ending move in terrain. Which, again, that sort of makes good sense. So effectively, if you're on the floor and you're going up to a building, rather than like horizontally measure, you just measure from the base to the level that you're going. That's your distance. Obviously, if you're flying over it and you're not going to land in the building, then you use a horizontal measurement. Again, that might be something which is already supposed to be done in 9th edition. I can't remember that, but I don't think so. I think it was just horizontal movement, wasn't it? every edition it's like changing Scooby-Doo into Hong Kong Phooey. It's starting to get annoying. Yeah, CW, they love changing stuff. There's a lot about this edition though that feels like the older editions to me. It's obviously a mixture. It's a mixture of 9th, but definitely bringing back some of the older stuff. Right, so yeah, transports. I think we know this one already, of course, but I made a note of it just so that if I'm reading the rules back on my notes, I can sort of help remember it. So you disembark after moving, but of course you can't move or charge, and you can't fall back or advance and then disembark effectively. So if your vehicle is in combat and you fall back, you can't get out, you can't advance. Well, unless you have obviously special rules. But primarily the thing there, of course, is that you can move and then you get your guys out, which could be quite nice for warriors in Ghost Arcs potentially, because obviously we're going to be mainly getting out and shooting anyway. Yeah, they sort of had it in 8th, yeah, but End got rid of it for 9th. I only hope our characters won't be as disproportionately expensive as they were in 9th edition. According to the Warhammer community article, our whole army is based on it. Oh, totally. I'm really, really hoping we don't have really expensive characters. We always seem to have a character expense sort of issue ever since we got so many characters. Like half of the characters we don't use because the rules just aren't worthy of it, or they lock you into a certain dynasty, which was an issue for 9th edition. I remember when in 5th edition it was a bit different. I used to use the Stormcaller Imitech quite a lot. Used to use the Traveller and Raker quite a lot. That's when he could ride in his command barge. You could use his power out of the command barge, and then they nerfed that, so you couldn't do that anymore. But yeah, it's been a while really since the characters were that great, really, to be fair. And then when I'm playing with Richard and one of my characters get into close combat, he's absolutely dumbfounded by the stats of the characters. It's like, well, yeah, that cryptic, yeah, he's got 1 attack. It's like those orc characters though, so cheap and so horrible. I don't know if it's the weather or not, but this paint isn't going on as nicely as I've known it to, let's say. It could be just the weather. Right, that's that one done. Just check it. Okay, back over here, we've got a front piece. Can disembark before moving and charging, but have the option to get out after transport moves. Yep, and not charge. I only have about 1k points built, and over 500 of those points are characters. I do deeply hope that they get cheaper. Yeah, definitely. I think they dropped the number of attacks for Necron characters when they got rid of initiative. Yeah. Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? So, next we've got destroyed transports. And one thing I sort of want to make a note of myself to do more, probably mainly because of the YouTube channel, but I noticed GW are, nothing ever dies in 40k, it's only destroyed, which I think I definitely need to start using that word more than like, oh, he killed that, that died. I'm going to try to start using the word, that was destroyed, this was destroyed, because the YouTube not the law, but that's sometimes it can affect your video if you've got like words like war and death and stuff. It can affect the advertising quality that you get on there. I know if you swear in your videos, your advertising quality is dramatically reduced. The adverts that you get on there, but also, for search and stuff. So I'm going to start to try to use the word destroyed rather than killed or died or whatever. Imagine if every 4 years all the paints in your wardrobe changed size. My pants change size every 4 years. So yeah, destroyed transports. So these are the notes I've got. You disembark 3 inches and the unit takes 1 mortal wound on a roll of a 1 for each model. So basically model destroyed. If they can't disembark 6 inches, then the unit takes 1 mortal wound on a 1 or a 3. Unit is battle shocked until your command phase. Unit is classed as moving and cannot charge until the end of the turn. So slight differences there. That's what's affecting your videos. YouTube algorithms. Yes, yeah, the algorithms do have quite a big impact. And it's rather fickle as well, the algorithm. Okay, so next, lone operator. Can't be targeted unless within 12 inches unless attached as a leader. So I'm assuming that some of our characters are going to be lone operators. I imagine the Catan probably would be as well. I doubt they're going to be able to attach to anything. I'm wondering about tomb spiders, canoptic spiders. Will they be able to lead scarabs? Is the scarab farm going to return? That'd be cool. They can join a scarab unit and then farm out more scarabs. I always remember when I first started playing, this is the first time that the first tactical thing that I learnt, and I learnt it from experience. I always remember this. So when we first started playing, I had just like one of everything. I had like 2 troops and a HQ. I had like 3 destroyers, like a heavy destroyer, and I had a canoptic spider, a tomb spider. And of course I looked at this tomb spider and I thought, yeah, monster, a big monstrous creature, lots of wounds, tough, it's really tough. So I used to like put it up front, right at the front, and just like try and get it into combat. And used to always die. And then one day I deployed it and I put it at the back. And my buddy looked round at me and he goes, "At last you've learnt." And I hadn't realised what I was doing until he said those words, "At last you've learnt." And I thought, I have learned, and that was like an eye-opener to me about positioning your units and tactical play, which I never really thought about until that moment. It's weird, yeah, how it was almost like a light bulb moment. And literally before I was just like just playing, yeah, that's cool, yeah, big monstrous creature, get them up front. But this time when I deployed, I thought actually I'll put them at the back, and then yeah, my buddy said that to me, and it's like, oh yeah. I think when you first start playing, you just tactics. Sometimes there's just no such thing as tactics, is there? It's just like put your models down and roll some dice and have some fun. Now, where's the front section of this one? Ah, there it is. I started the hobby like 3 years ago, didn't continue. Wanting to get back into it now. It's a good time to get back into it with 10th edition coming. You should definitely do it because it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. So obviously a few of these bits and pieces I've got off the model, not because they're magnetised, but because it just makes painting a bit easier. So tomorrow night, what's happening tomorrow night? Oh yeah, having fish and chips for dinner with my mum. Necron girl is here with me, so we're going to have fish and chips and then come home, and I plan to go live again tomorrow night. Unless I feel I've had absolutely nothing to talk about. But yeah, going live, helping me paint these hopefully, and interacting with you guys. It's always fun. And then Saturday I'm going, obviously I'm working, and then in the evening I'm going to my daughter's house and having a takeaway. Wait there, that's 2 takeaways in a row. Okay, well there you go. So yeah, looking forward to that. He lives not too far away from me with her boyfriend. So that's Saturday. When I get back, depending on what time I get back, I might go live again. I might just go live like every day until I've painted these things. Yeah, first 6 to 15 games is learning your army and getting to know what it does. Hi mate, followed you for many years. Thank you, Proto7. I have played back in 1st and 2nd and now looking to get back into 10th. Need to buy some paint and stuff. A bit daunting, the hobby side compared to back then. Oh wow, yeah, see I totally missed 1st and 2nd edition. So I started halfway between 3rd edition. So I missed that era. So when I started, we didn't have washes, we had ink. That's how you did your pin highlights, pinstripe highlights and stuff, was with ink. So totally different now. That's why there's no washes on my Necrons, because we never had washes back then. The dry brushing technique was all we had. But it works. It does work. You always get them, don't you? But I've had comments on my painting tutorials oh yeah, how can you even paint that? You don't even wash it. So you don't actually need to wash it with dry brushing. I mean, you can, and I do. To be fair, if I was painting to a higher level, like when I paint my metal on my Space Wolves, on my Emperor's Children, I block the silver, then I wash it, then I highlight it, and then I edge highlight it again. But it works well for Necrons, especially that worn metal look, as I always keep saying, it seems. Right, I'm going to take out the guns. I'm going to do them probably last. Right, let's do this piece here. And I'm going to need some more paint. Before ink, paint with a few drops of mop and glow. This paint's just not coming out very well. Right, so get a good old blob on there. Oh, and it's halfway down the pot as well. Oh, that splattered. Didn't go on me, that's good. That's one reason why I didn't wear my Necrons t-shirt today, because I didn't want it to splatter on my t-shirt. Right, okay, that's enough paint. So next it's stealth. -1 to hit if every model in the unit has it. Basically it's hard to hit. I suppose they could have just called it hard to hit. But stealth, of course, is the name of an old universal special rule that we had. So I think they're starting to bring, you know, some of those old names back. GW do recycle names quite a bit. But yeah, stealth, hard to hit, which I'm assuming our Tomb Blades are going to have. Well, we know they are. Well, potentially we know they are with the keywords that GW put onto the website. And of course there's going to be a core stratagem as well, isn't there, making you that cloud of smoke. Can't remember how many CPs it was though. Obviously CPs are going to be quite sparse potentially. Anyway, I have to go now, but really appreciate your channel. It's brought me much joy in darker times. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you just popping in. Yeah, nice to hear from you. Just watched a video of you where you mentioned you can't say which units are going to be better. Do we know more about that now? Well, it's hard to say, isn't it? But I think we've got some sneaky suspicions now. So I think potentially the Doomstalker is going to be a lot better now. And I'm thinking the Triarch Stalker could be a lot better now. Both of those picking up the Walker keyword. What else? I don't know about the rest, to be fair, but those two I've picked up. They're going to be pretty good. Tomb Blade potentially, but it ultimately is going to come down to points. Now, if my assumption is correct, that we will be getting a new Locust Destroyer kit with the new release, finally getting rid of the ones with the green rods, then potentially Locust Destroyers might come back again. It all goes in cycles, doesn't it? Because all through 8th edition I was playing Locust Destroyers, or Destroyers as they were then. We had the stratagem, didn't we, re-roll all the dice, and then they sort of went out of favour a bit. The stratagem became 2 points and nerfed, and I think the only constant, the only unit I've played a lot in pretty much all editions were 2 of them, I would say, and that's the Wraiths and the Scarabs. Now Wraiths nearly fell out of flavour when they lost their 3+ invulnerable save, but as every unit in the game lost their 3+ invulnerable save, it wasn't so bad, but that was quite devastating when they lost that. but on the whole, they still have some really good attributes. So I've always played wraiths, always played scarabs. They've never really been unplayable or too bad. So yeah, flayed ones is a unit which has sort of come and gone quite a lot, from being atrocious to being really good and then overcosted, and now they're back to being really good for their points. And if they get infiltrates, they could be another unit which works really well. The only issue, of course, is those models, which I've never built them, but apparently are a nightmare to build, and also, of course, an expensive miniature. I'm gonna sing the Doom song, new. That's a lot of Dooms. So it's a swings and roundabouts thing. Yeah, exactly. You just got to pick the bones out of it, haven't you? And sometimes it's just down to your army list that you build. I played the Zerican Dynasty. I don't think it was the first time, but I very rarely played the Zerican Dynasty. And I played the Zerican Dynasty in my list with the Ghost Arcs, the 4 Ghost Arcs. And boy, was that good. That Dynasty matched the army perfectly. The +1 to the living metal, the reroll the RP, then the saves against mortal wounds. It was a perfect Dynasty for that list. And that's the thing, sometimes a unit may not necessarily stand out unless you're taking something else which works with it. Okay, now I've got some very small pieces I need to find, which go right at the front of this. I think I moved it. Yeah, there it is. Right, nearly on the floor. Okay, let's get this one done so I don't forget it. This is the little front piece which goes on the front. Not magnetise it, just pushes on. No! Oh, I thought I'd lost it behind the desk. Oh, I was lucky. If they have new Locust Destroyer models, I guarantee they will have a new alternative weapon. Oh yes, yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Locust Heavy Destroyer sprue with some extra weapons. I can't believe they'll make a totally new designed miniature for that. They're going to use that sprue, aren't they? It's almost guaranteed. And I think the only reason why they didn't do it in the first place is they probably had some old miniatures to shift first. Right, let's find that very small piece on the other one. There she is. So next I've got Big Guns Never Tire. So yeah, vehicles and monsters only. Can shoot at engaged units whilst in close combat, but -1 to hit unless pistols. Can be shot at whilst in combat, but -1 to hit unless pistols. So I think it's a good change. So it makes sense. And there was a big vehicle there, massive, towering vehicle. Even if your men were at the bottom, you'd shoot to them, wouldn't you? You'd try to take them out. So I think it makes sense. Obviously, the blast weapon restrictions are still there. That's that bit. I've got an arm there. Alright, let's do this. I think what I'll do is I'm just going to take the bits out of the box and then put them back in as I've painted them. So these barges I was given by a subscriber quite some time ago. One was on its original sprue and the other one was like a half built or half broken barge, an Annihilation Barge which had all of the pieces except for the command deck. That piece there didn't have that. So I had to kit bash one, which I've done, and I've made a video on it. So I'm not going to show you in too close detail because I don't want to spoil the video. It's only a short video rather than a long video, but that will come at some point. How's the image? Is that too dark? Is that okay, the image? I can increase my light power. How's that? Alright, let's get going then. I was painting the second half of my first box of warriors for 3 months when I got run over by a car, and I'm back to only having 6 warriors painted. Oh, sorry to hear that. Any tips for painting? I have a series of videos called the Back to Basics videos, a whole series of them on all different types of painting techniques. So if you're new to painting, I highly recommend you watch that. And it's not just about painting, it's like the whole hobbies thing. It starts off with like the sprue, mould lines, I cover glue, I cover pinning, green stuff. Basically try to cover every aspect of the hobby. Admittedly, those videos are a bit older, they're not quite as high quality as maybe some of my newer ones, but what's in them is very good. So yeah, I'd recommend finding that on my channel. If you go to playlists, it's called Back to Basics, and I cover wet blending, dry blending, glazing, freehand, cover loads of stuff in there. Paint brushes, paint. I think with painting, it's always good to give yourself like a set task in each session. That's what I try to do. I mean, obviously it depends how much time you have. If you've only got like 20 minutes, you could just say, well, I want to quickly just paint that. Personally, when I paint, I tend to do it in bigger sessions. So like my task here tonight would be to do this first coat on everything, and that if I do that, then I can either stop, or I can say, right, now my task is to do the next coat on everything. But I wouldn't do just half of it. I would either do it or I wouldn't do it, so I would decide. The only time I would do half is if I've got something which is, you know, a big task that is going to take some time. Right, I'm going to quickly paint my secret project. Don't look at this too closely. I'm not 100% happy with how this came out, but it does the job. And as I said earlier, I'm very rarely going to be using 4 command barges, so this is only a just in case I pick up the wrong box and I need a command barge. At least I can make it into one. I'm quite happy with it. I made it for my bits box, but it's okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. It does the job. Should be okay once it's painted up. When I kit bash, I do also consider the painting side of it. Like, right, how am I going to paint this bit? How am I going to paint that? And I want it to match my original command barge deck, which I've painted in a certain way. So yeah, I've also taken that into consideration. Got to check them out. Perfect, no problem. I can't even draw a triangle freehand. I don't know if it would work for what we do, but one of my work colleagues showed me an app. He painted this artwork. I'm not sure where the artwork was from, but he painted this artwork on the bottom of his skateboard. It looks amazing. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I just use a tracing app." It's like, what? And he showed it to me. So it's like you put it on. Basically, you would mount your phone on a tripod of some description, and then you have the picture, and it's like layered over the top, so you can see your original picture, and you can see the artwork, and then you just get your pencil or whatever, and then you just basically trace around the picture, and you can change the density so you can see more on the skateboard or more on the picture, and then you can zoom in if you've got sort of really detailed bit. It looks pretty amazing. I don't know whether it would work for what we do, probably a bit too small. But yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing. Just have to get some AI to paint on miniatures. So let's have a look. My next thing, we all know about it, but I've made a note of it just as a little reminder. Plus, I might give this to my other gaming buddy, you know, my Blood Angels buddy. I might give him a copy of this and say, look, these are the changes basically, because he hasn't really played that much of 9th, but might help him. So I've written down critical hits, which of course is an unmodified roll of a 6 is a critical hit. And basically always hits, like a 1 always misses, you know, a 6 basically always hits. And then you've got critical wounds, which of course an unmodified roll of a 6 always wounds. So that's good. Do you remember the old days where you just couldn't wound anything? Oh, it's much cooler now. So now I've got this massive light, and I've got the balcony door open, so no doubt I'm going to get a load of moths and flies coming up to the light. Okay, so that's that one. Let's do this one. Deadly Demise, which I thought was interesting. So basically that explodes, and it's a fixed 6 inches now, so it doesn't vary. Well, the core rule doesn't vary, whether it might have special rules on data sheets for like Titanic or something units, you know, explode more, but it doesn't look like it. So yeah, it's a fixed 6 inches and explodes on a 6, and then the damage is denoted on the profile. So as far as I can tell, I think all units that explode on a 6 and a fixed 6 inches, and then they'll have varying damage on the profile. That'd be interesting. I'm judging from how they're making it simplified and not simple. I'd imagine that's the rule. All units have that one single rule. Assault weapons, I noticed no -1 to hit after advancing with assault weapons, so assault weapons could be more beneficial. 10th edition can advance, shoot normally, from what I could see. I mean, these are notes that I've made. I mean, I could be wrong, I might have missed something, but that's what I read anyway. Could make Tesla a lot better. Tesla Immortals, Tesla Tomb Blades. Get that extra movement, advance, and shoot. I like it. I've never had a painted army or played a legit game, though I am determined to do so. I'm considering maybe if I can just paint a few of each unit, I could pay someone to help paint them the way I do. Yeah, that's an option. Definitely write down how you paint stuff, because I made that fatal mistake of not writing it down and then not remembering how I painted something. So now I have a notebook and I just write down everything that I do if I'm painting a new project. Okay, let's start by painting the little men on this one. This one, the men are sort of mainly glued on because they were already there. These ones I haven't glued the top half on. My first army when I was young, half was stolen, so I quit back then. I don't want to quit again. No, definitely. So I have the honour to work again tomorrow. Good night to all of you. Good night, Jar. Thank you very much. And yeah, maybe I'll be live streaming again tomorrow, so I might see you then. Take care. So Moth says, I only started in 9th, so I'm curious how good death marks have been historically. They were okay in 7th, where you could just hunker them down on a piece of terrain, get 2+ save, and shoot their weapons. But they've never been that amazing. Let's put it this way, I have a unit of 5 death marks. Actually no, sorry, I have a unit of 7, because I bought 5, I was given 2, and I painted them, so it gives me 7. I do have some death marks which were also given to me, which I haven't painted yet, and the most I've ever used is 1 unit of 10, and I've not felt the need to go out, rush out and buy death marks, so I think that probably tells a story of how good they've been. Right, let's have a look. What else? Twin linked. So I made a note of this. I mean, we've had twin linked all over the years, but we've never had twin linked as reroll wounds. Reroll wound dice. It's going to take a little while to get used to that. Usually it's, I mean, in the past it's been well, it's gone for various rules. I think it was you get extra dice to hit, so then re-roll hits, but now it's re-roll wounds, so very different. So I've written that down, just a little reminder. Obviously our Tesla spheres and stuff are going to be twin linked, one would imagine. Probably it's going to be needed more because there's going to be a lot more tougher things on the table, so a reroll to wound is probably going to be more beneficial than a reroll to hit. Although with Tesla, you know, rerolling to hit to try and get those 6s out was always a good thing, so we just have to wait and see on that front. Right, on the arms. If you are in the stream and you haven't done so already, can you please like the video? I'd really appreciate that. It helps me out. And if you've joined the stream and you haven't seen yet, and you're wondering why I've got that little overlay about the charity raffle, I am currently doing a raffle to win Darkstalker and 3 Wraiths, painted by Siege Studios. Very high quality paint scheme. It's £5 a ticket, and I'm donating the money to Mind, although it will be less, the 10% fee for the website and postage to the winner. So yeah, that's what that's all about. There's a link to it in the description below. Loving the stream. I'm currently building some Eos Dryads. Excellent, thank you. Glad you're enjoying it. As I said, it's just really chilled. Just a hobby together, basically. Me and my buddy used to hobby sometimes together. It's fair to say you probably don't get quite as much hobby done as if you were there by yourself, not talking, but it just makes it a bit more enjoyable. So next we've got Torrent, which is auto hit. Torrent special rule, so anything like flamers, probably it's going to be Torrent. I'm surprised they didn't have rending. Rending used to be a rule. Necrons! Hello Necron girl, how are you doing? What time is it? 10 to 10. That isn't me because I don't have the Necron girl's computer, so that usually on my live streams I'm using her computer, so any comments from her is me, but that is actually Necron girl in the stream. And that's probably wait there, me ex-wife. I'll read this. Okay. Should have turned the phone off, but you never know what emergencies are going to come, do you? So Richard and I played our last game of 9th edition, and as requested by you guys, or most of you guys, I played the Pylon. And then I also had the Seraptic. Hello John, how you doing? So yeah, I had the Seraptic. So that was a fun game, although we didn't quite play the whole game, unfortunately. Something cropped up, but the battle report is looking good, so yeah, you'll see that on Monday. Yeah, Monday. Oh, popular man. That was I'm talking to Necron girl here because she's asking me questions, but I'm not going to type because I'm painting. That was about the concert that you're going to, basically asking for train money. So I've got to pay for the train, £25. Going to be doing this later when I get home, working on Star Wars Legion Army for an Escalation League. Cool beans. What faction are you? Are you the Stormtroopers or Rebels or? Yeah, luckily Richard says we had to finish early, but luckily I did record a lot of dice rolling and the first 10 or so for that bat rep, and it came out really well actually. To be fair, it's the same length as my normal bat reps are, because where I'm playing units which I don't normally play, you know, I've recorded a lot more of the sort of interactions and dice rolling and stuff. So yeah, hopefully you tune in and watch it. I know 9th is like dead and buried, but yeah, it'll be worth watch. It's a fun little game. And now we're already ready for 10th. It's a bit weird having all these data sheets released before the actual release, and then the points are going to be released. I don't know if I like it or not. It's good because we're like being prepared, I suppose, but then I don't know if it spoils it in some way as well. Right, that's that arm done. So I've got these 2 guns to do, and then I've got to go over some of those bigger bits with the smaller brush. Right, now there's not much silver on these guns, because they're mainly black, so it's, well, the wire and the 2 pieces inside there which I hand paint, not dry brush. And then on the Tesla, it's just that piece going down and that back section. Right, let's do this one first. So it's basically just the wire. Is Silent King worth to bring in 10th edition list? I don't know, mate, because I haven't seen no rules really for the King. I'd imagine he'll be pretty decent. It's a fairly new miniature, but it's difficult to say. It is difficult to say. One would think that he'll be half decent. So next, what else have we got? Lance weapons, which I don't think Necrons are going to have these, but I've made a note anyway. So yeah, it's +1 to wound if you make a charge with a lance weapon. Only the turn that you charge, effectively. Obviously, like Eldar, so what they're called, Shining Spears, they have lance weapons. I don't think it's going to be for us, but like I said, I've made a note. And then the last note on this page is precision weapons. Can target an attached character if visible and in range. And of course, there's that stratagem as well, isn't there? So it's going to be interesting. And the way I see it with RP is, if a character is attached to the unit and he is like targeted, let's say, with precision, then when we do our RP on the unit, we can choose to bring the character back. That's what I read, or how I read it so far. On a side note, Battle Shock. I know it's a new game mechanic and all the rest of it, but I really hope the Battle Shock just doesn't take over 10th edition too much. You know, I mean, it's cool, it's a part of it, but I just don't want it to be like all Battle Shock, Battle Shock, Battle Shock. You know, I think it could be a bit boring doing a load of Battle Shock tests all the time. Do any of you guys have a custom dynasty? And well, not really. I mean, my dynasty I call the Soulless Dynasty. Basically, I just painted it like the Necrons in the 3rd edition Codex that I thought looked cool, and it's like the Terminator. and in the fluff, like the first couple of sentences, it says about the soulless Necrons. So I thought, yeah, that'd be cool. So I named my army the soulless Necrons because I liked to name my armies. And then, of course, the new fluff came out, and arguably my paint scheme is basically Saltec. But yeah, it's a neutral paint scheme, so I can play any dynasty that I like. And obviously GW have gone back a bit, haven't they, from dynasties and dynasty colours and stuff. Probably lost a bit of its flavour maybe, but it's no big issue. Okay, that's that done. So now all I have to do is go back in with a small brush and just get into the nooks and crannies with my rather cold cup of coffee, because I've been on for an hour and a half. How about that? An hour and a half. I would like the Tomb Blades, scout keyword. That would be great fun. I think Battle Shock will start out a pain. Yeah. Well, so I was saying with Tomb Blades, potentially with assault weapons being able to advance and shoot without -1 to hit. I'm pretty sure that's how the rules are from what I've read. Tomb Blades could be really good with Tesla guns. Pre-game move, good movement, advance and shoot. I like it. Would you say it's fallacy that they are just merging all different same army factions into one, more or less? It certainly seems. Is it a fallacy that they are just merging? It seems like they're doing that. I think mainly because it's just going to make the rules easier to control. Right, okay, let's get cracking. So we are back to these. And there's definitely some little bits and pieces I need to get this brush into. How are we doing for paint? We've got some on there. And, oh, I need to change the page. I'll do that in a second. Paint the gunner and the driver. Battle Shock should be the best version of morale. Whether it works out that way, we shall see. Yeah, time will tell. Right, let's turn my piece of paper over so I've got something to talk about. Pin it to the board. The idea is good, at least let's see what the practice is. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. It's just a case of whether it becomes too over the top of a thing. Alright, so next on the list is Blast. So Blast, +1 attack for each 5 models in the unit, rounded down. I'm liking that. It's far more simpler than the current rules, which sometimes I get confused with. I mean, in our last game I got confused with D3 attacks on a unit with Blast. So yeah, it should be a lot easier. So obviously rounded down, so if you're shooting at a unit of 9, you get +1 attack. What are Necrons like against Tyranids in the game? Well, I did manage to beat the Tyranids in my last game against Richard, although I know obviously he is only getting used to the army. But yeah, it's not a bad matchup. I mean, haven't really played Tyranids against Tyranids too much, to be fair, for a very long time, and I haven't really played Tyranids much. And of course we don't know what the new Tyranids are going to be, so it's always just really hard to say at the moment. Aren't they like good at NIDS and then lore? Lore wise probably, that doesn't really match up to the tabletop though. There's lots of nooks and crannies here. The paint's getting a bit low. Actually, one inspiration for my army that I took against Richard was from Dave on my community tab, and he said, oh yeah, Necrons would see like the Tyranids as a low threat, so they'd just send out just their basic warrior troops, and that inspired me to have my 80 warrior list. I don't really want to get more paint out, but I think that's all gone. Just get a little bit. I haven't really got that much more to do on this with this colour. He says. Until he turns it upside down and there's like, oh, there's actually quite a lot to do. Right, let's get some more paint. Nids generally wouldn't bother with Necrons. No biomass. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Right, that should do me. Oh, messy. So yeah, next note is heavy. +1 to hit if remained stationary. Now obviously I think that's going to be a great benefit for us, but obviously it's going to be a great benefit for lots of armies, but still, you know, you have to take what you get. So yeah, stay still, which we as Necron players are very used to doing with our Doomsday Arcs, etc. Now we get +1 to hit. Hopefully we don't lose our ballistic skill. And obviously currently the Doomstalkers hit on 4s anyway. So they'll probably stay on that, and then we'll be hitting on 3s if we stay still. And hopefully the Doomsday Arcs will hit on 2s if we stay still. I wonder if our profile thing will change for staying still, whether that will change. Well, we did see the release of actually that gun, didn't we? I can't remember. I think it just showed you the big profile, right? Okay, we are getting there now. It's better than the -1 to hit if you moved with the heavy weapon. Oh yes, yeah, much better. Yeah, because it means you can move if you need to, and you're still going to be at least half hitting. I think that's it. I have to bear in mind that that is only the second coat, so still going to be quite blotchy. It's just a case, just as long as I've got some silver on it all over. So that's that one. And let's do this one. Death marks may have a great opportunity this edition with earning their points cost. Potentially, yeah, potentially. It is so hard to say. Next, hazardous, which obviously again Necrons at this moment in time don't have any hazardous weapons. But yeah, model destroyed on a roll of a 1 after shooting. But it's only D3 wounds for characters, so they don't outright die, which makes sense. And it's not when you sort of roll a 1 to hit, so you roll to hit and wound, and then you roll your test to see how dangerous that shot was. Vehicles never had the penalty, so not sure if it would affect vehicles this edition unless they put heavy weapons at a higher ballistic skill to start with. Yeah, I'm not sure, because obviously our vehicles have different weapon profiles for staying stationary and for moving. I assumed it was on vehicles. Devastating wounds. Critical wounds, which is an unmodified roll of a 6, becomes a mortal wound, and then the attack stops. So it's not as well as, but it's like instead of, which is, yeah, nice. So that's what that does. What's the coolest looking Necron vehicle? I would say the monolith. I like the monolith. Yeah. Mind you, you've got the Seraptic. If you're counting Forge World, then the Seraptic. And we've got sustained hits. Each critical hit scores X additional hits, so that's going to be something like our Tesla. So probably that's going to be a critical hit at 2. So yeah, you get 2 extra hits for each 6. And then extra attacks. Extra attacks can be used in addition to normal attacks. Now I really like the way they've done this rule. Introduced this special rule of, or special wording of extra attacks, so it makes things a lot less confusing. So extra attacks are in addition to your normal attacks, and they can't be like modified, so you can't get like +1 to hit on an extra attack. I think it just clarifies a few things, because sometimes it can be confusing how many attacks and what weapons you attack with. So I think having that extra attack wording, that's a good idea. Obelisk, it's okay, the obelisk, but for me it's like, I would like to have seen it maybe not on the flying base, having it more like a monolith, like a big monolith, but it's quite bland really. The Vault, however, slightly different with the Catan in. It's a very cool miniature, admittedly. Anti-X, so an unmodified wound roll of X scores a critical wound. Basically it wounds on X regardless, so it might say like wound vehicles on 4s, or you know, whatever. So basically just makes your guns better against certain types of units. So yeah, new special wording for that. Anti-X. So these are the ones with the warrior bodies already attached to the vehicle, so it's a bit more finicky to get the brush in. I had one arm missing, so I had to use a warrior arm, holding a gun, and I cut the gun out and made it look like he's like punching. So I've actually got him punching the dashboard, like trying to get it to work. Okay, let's have a look. What else? Charging. Must move into base contact if you can. Major change. A good change, I think, personally. Obviously, combat's caused me quite a few problems over the 9th edition, especially playing orcs all the time. So yeah, now if you can get into base contact, you have to get into base contact. It just helps with that, like, lessening the movement shenanigans. I'm guessing now this one. Hopefully I just about got enough paint and not have to get some more out. Okay, that looks good, just this little bit here. Okay, right, just check these things at the back, energy, jet engine things. Oh, I've run out of paint. Okay, just got to do this bit. There's always something, isn't there? Just like, oh yeah, I just got to do this bit. Oh, I forgot this bit. And this side. Yes. I'm nearly there with the first coat. Just got to go back to these guns. I will need a tiny bit more paint. Oh yeah, that thing is pretty wild. I don't know how I would paint the entity though. I feel bad for it. Yeah, definitely. I magnetise mine, of course, but easier to paint when he's not inside the vehicle. Okay, John. Yeah, thanks for popping in. I'll see you later. Hopefully, I will be streaming tomorrow night as well, so might see you then. Scout, which we know about, of course, we talked about this already, but yeah, pre-game move of X inches, so it's going to state how many inches you can move. So it may not necessarily be the full movement of those tomb blades. It might say Scout 6 inches or something. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, Scout move, pretty cool. One note I've made on here that it does include moving a dedicated transport if the unit inside all has Scout special rule. Probably isn't going to affect us, but it's worth noting. So if somebody has Scouts in a vehicle, that vehicle can Scout. Lictors for Tyranids seem useful, dependent on points, but I'm already breaking their data state down. There is rumour Shrikes may have returned to the Tyranid range. Yep. Obviously they weren't Shrikes, were they? They were just flying warriors, effectively. I think the Forge World unit was Shrikes, wasn't it? because Forge World actually had some flying warriors, and they were called shrikes, if I remember rightly. It's not supposed to be on there, but it's okay. I'm going to be painting over that anyway. Right, that's looking good. Right. So I hope you're enjoying this stream. Let's have a look what else. Infiltrators, woohoo! And it seems like flayed ones are going to get it. So yeah, during deployment you can deploy no closer than 9 inches of an enemy or of an enemy deployment zone. So it's going to put you pretty close. And obviously we've got deep strikers as well, so tactical reserves. It's going to be interesting. Could be quite a brutal turn 1 potentially. Right, I think I am done. I suppose I might as well just, whilst I've got this small brush out and I've got paint on it, just check everything. Let's do that, because I could probably just touch up a little bit more. I don't think I'm going to be doing the second coat here because, well, how long have we been? We've been nearly 2 hours. 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, yeah, nearly 2 hours just to do this one coat. So I'll finish up this coat and then come back tomorrow night to do the rest. I've just put way too much paint on there. That's okay because it's the underside anyway. I think it's all looking good. I think we're ready for the second coat. Yep. Okay, so there you go. I think I'm going to pack up painting for today. I think that's a good task done. And then tomorrow night I should be able to get the second coat done. Then it's just the green and gold to do. So sounds simple, doesn't it? I've still got more things to run over, which we'll leave maybe for tomorrow night. I might continue to talk about them tomorrow. Have a quick drink, check out the chat, and finish up in a bit. Brood Lord's scout movement is 8, same as its move characteristic. Yeah, one would have thought it would be the same, but it did state it's like X amount of inches, so maybe they just mean it's variable depending on your normal movement. Right, let's check out the charity raffle, see if we sold any more tickets. Let's have a look. Not yet, not yet. However, 47 tickets since Monday. Really happy with that. I mean, that's just awesome. But obviously, yeah, like I said, we've got quite a while to go yet. Just had a message from Darren from Twisted Dice saying he's shared the raffle on his community tab. Okay, well, unless anyone has any desperate questions, I think we will finish the stream here, and we will return tomorrow night, potentially about the same time, so 8:30. maybe 9, that sort of time. So yeah. Okay, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I do really appreciate it, and have a good one. Catch you later.